And we're live. So I'll keep this. I don't know how brief I'm going to keep it. I'll say I'll keep it brief, and then I'm talking like for fucking 20 minutes. So pretty much, um, this idea of America not being great. Now I don't bother. I didn't bother showing up to vote because I don't know. I actually never voted a day in my life. Pardon me, but hearing, I think it's what's this guy's name? Governor is it Cuomo? He's, I think he's the brother of the CNN anchor. Andrew Mark Cuomo is an American politician, author, and lawyer serving as the 56th and current governor of New York since 2011. A member of the Democratic Party, he was elected to the same position his father, Mario Cuomo, held for 3 terms. So he's 60 years old, and yeah, he's a brother of the CNN anchor. So anyway, he made a remark that America um, was never that great to begin with. I'd have to disagree. I definitely say when America decided to split off from Great Britain and when the sovereignty of the individual was far more important than the British collectivism, I say that they started something great and it was entrusted to us, and we failed them by forgetting how blessed we are to be in a country where you could be like me, you can be a minority, you could come from a place that's horrible in the sense that what it does to people, like not a lot of poverty, a lot of crime, a lot of sexually transmitted diseases that don't get taken care of. Um, and you can come out of that and do something and become rich and make something out of yourself. And it all it takes in America is for you to work hard and have something that resembles some self-respect for yourself and your fellow man, and you can do well. But asking these, I guess, from these misguided college kids, I'm so glad, despite being in the military and having and going in for a GI Bill, I'm glad I let my GI Bill lapse and that I didn't waste my time going to an American university. Because I mean, this is one of the American university, one of the few places where you could go in, spend a mega fuck ton of money, and end up way more retarded than you were when you went in. Kind of like probably getting married in a way. You just come out worse for doing it nowadays because of the way the system is set up, based on whether you're a man or a woman, particularly. But the idea of it not being great is totally bunk because this is the only place. There aren't that many places where you could go somewhere to be what you want to be. And if it wasn't so great, why the hell are all these people flying across the border and having the taxpayers like us eat up their benefits? Like if it's not so great, they can stay the hell wherever they are. And I say this as a black man who comes from a community. Oops, shaking a laptop. Who comes from a community where immigration is so high that blacks are being displaced. Black Americans, like blacks who are native citizens, who should have a chance at these jobs, and they don't have it, and no one says anything because anyone who speaks out against the Hispanics, you don't get to have their vote. And so, if you want the Hispanic vote, you lump in the blacks and the Hispanics together, even though both of them might need something different. And so, even despite all that, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, up until and the people who say America isn't great, you guys have no sense of perspective. Up until 100 years ago, you know, we weren't living as long as we were living. We just weren't able to do it, and we're in a country where we're so rich, where we can sit in an air conditioned space, get on our iPhones, and then complain and bitch about how shitty the world is when we aren't subject to living in South Africa, or being white and being fucking killed. Before someone says, well, blacks are killed, but yes, blacks are killed by other black people. In Chicago, there were 70 shootings, but there have been more blacks there have been more black deaths in Chicago and more black on black crime in general than all of the deaths that all of the lives of the blacks that were lost in both world wars combined. That means that we've killed each other off more than anybody else has. So the idea that it's the white man or the system or anything else is completely false. The biggest issue with blacks is that not gonna say all, but a mega fuck ton of us, we have no moral character. are lazy as fuck and don't accept responsibility for ourselves by sitting around and blaming other people. Systemic racism is not a real thing. There are people that are racist, but systemic racism is not a real thing. That's the case. We've had Susan Rice, Colin Powell, and Barack Obama. They were still just as corrupt and as evil as any of the other people who came before them, and almost worse in a way because they managed to fool so many people into thinking that they were decent, that they had the blacks, that they had the backs of minorities, and that wasn't the case at all. I'm pretty sure Barack Obama is the absolute worst president in American history, and his legacy, thank goodness, is just being destroyed every day. So, with that being said, we live long lives. We live in a country where we're able to be rich, and up until recently, the thing that unified everyone was a celebration for the individual. But now, this liberal collectivism and socialism and all this other shit, this is not what America is. America is not a democracy. America is a constitutional republic, and it was made that way specifically so that mob rule could destroy people who had an independent thought, because you need the opposing thoughts. And there's somebody walking around in the background. So yeah, that's pretty much it. America is fantastic. How sad it must be that there are people who are so brainwashed into believing that, think of how brainwashed you'd have to be to live in the greatest country that humanity has ever created, and you're saying that it was not great. I mean, it's just really, really, really sad, and it's very hard to make the best of the blessings that we've been granted by God, or whatever it is that you believe in. If you're not even concerned for the facts, like the majority of Americans are extremely lucky to even remotely be in a place like America, and it's so a shame that elements in the media and elements in our horrible, shitty public school system is sitting around training these kids who are entitled enough to sit in an air-conditioned classroom and have other people pay for everything for them, sit around and talk about how shitty things are while they do nothing except whine and bitch. Racism is not a real thing. If for some reason you find that you haven't gotten ahead in life and you haven't gotten what you think you should have, it's your own fault. You should shut the fuck up and accept responsibility for it and stop blaming other people. It's not a racist country. You can do and be whatever you want to be. And if you're smart, stay away from those evil black people who tell you that you need some help. Just stay away from any of the people who make it seem like you're pathetic and that you need the help. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Obama's fault. It's not Bush's fault. It's everyone else's fault except your own. It's your fault if your life turns out shitty. No one else's. And blacks and others who aren't accepting responsibilities for themselves, you guys should really do that, because the shit is getting old and we don't have that much time on earth. There are way too many people mad about something thinking that it's someone else's fault. It's not. It's your fault. Stop blaming others because you haven't made more of yourself. That's it.